Hey guys, what is going on? We are back, and today we're going to be talking about something a little bit different here. As you can probably tell by the thumbnail and the title, we're going to be talking about weapon and attachment tuning here today in this one. Now, I've seen a lot of misconceptions flying around the Call of Duty YouTube community recently about exactly how tuning does work with these attachments. I've seen people slapping the sliders all the way to the side without any care, including myself actually. I was doing that a little bit. Now I actually understand exactly how it works and how to get the most out of every attachment here by tuning those numbers and making it as powerful as possible. Just before we do get into our techniques here, make sure you do hit that subscribe button with those notifications turned on. I do very much appreciate it, and it really does help me out. But without any further preamble here, let's get into how to perfectly tune all of your attachments in Modern Warfare 2 Season 1. Okay, so this is just a little bit of a random class setup that we have slapped together with the Kastov 7.62 or the AK-47. Now, taking a look at some of the attachments here, we've got some barrel, we've got a muzzle, under barrel, we've got the grip, and we have the stock. Now, keep in mind that most of these tips are going to apply to pretty much every attachment in the game. Of course, there are some specific attachments on certain guns that don't allow you to tune anything, and of course, these tips don't apply to that. Of course, the first thing you have to do is reach max level with this specific gun. Of course, we've reached level 21 out of 21 with the Kastov 7.62. Taking a look here, we do go with the tuning on the barrel, which is the CAS 7.406mm. This does give us a boost to our recoil control, hip fire, recoil control, and the bullet velocity with this thing. Now, if we do go into the tuning section, we can see that this does have two different sliders here and the bar graph in the middle. Now, say we do want to change the aim walking movement speed with this particular weapon. As we can see, this is going to affect the mobility stat. As you can see, as we slide this around, we'll take a bit of a closer look in here. As we slide this up and down, we can see that the bar does move in and out depending on how we do move this bar. Now, you don't actually want to just slap it to the end of the bar. What you want to take a look at is a little bit more close. If you do take it back to the middle point of the slider, and you can see that when we do start moving this bar, sometimes it's quite pronounced, the movement, and then it does slow right down. So you want to get it to like the furthest point out. As you can see, if we do take it all the way to the bottom, the bar actually does move in a little bit. So we're actually getting a little bit less stats out of this if we do take it back. If we hover it around 31 for this particular attachment, 31 does appear to be the most amount of stats that we can get out of this, and if we do move it further past that, we do actually lose some numbers there. So we actually want to set this one at about 31 on this particular stat just to max this out, and that's what we're going for here. And essentially you can apply that to pretty much every attachment in the game. If we do want to increase the damage range with this particular barrel, again, we do take a look at this. This is affecting the range slider. Again, keep in mind you are actually affecting some of the other stats with this thing when you do move this around, so just keep that in mind. If we do take a look at the range slider on the right hand side, you can see that it does keep going out, just keep going out, and it stops around a similar mark again. Now, all these numbers and all these marks, that it does stop moving to sort of the maximum on that line. It's not the same for each attachment. Sometimes you'll be able to get to pretty much all the way to the end, and sometimes it'll pull up very, very early. So to maximize the damage range on this particular attachment, we do sort of want to sit around there-ish. Now, as I said, you can basically just apply that to every single attachment that does have a tuning option in the game if you do want to maximize certain stats for specific weapons. We'll take a look at the stock here while we are going. Say we do want to increase the aim down sight speed on this bad boy, that does equate to the handling stat, and then we take a look at the line, and it does move a little bit. This one is a little different. It does continue to move out as we do get further down. So if you are interested in maximizing the aim down sight speed with this particular stock, slap it all the way to the bottom and you will get the most amount of stats there. That's just how it works. It's pretty nice there. We do get a little bit of a boost. Again, aim walking movement speed on this particular one as well. If we do take a look, again, that's the mobility stat. You can see that it does move quite significantly early. It moves about like 1.5 of those lines on the graph, and then it does slow down quite significantly, goes back in a little bit, and then sort of trickles out. So we sort of want to position this one about there, 1.18 inches on this, just to give us the most amount of mobility with this particular attachment setup. Now keep in mind, of course, this isn't the exact tune you want to go with this particular gun and these particular attachments. This is just an example. If we were to continue on our way with the Kastovia DX90 muzzle, we take a look at the tuning here, and we want to get some recoil smoothness with this, for example. We do take a look, and that does, of course, affect the recoil stat. Again, we do lose a little bit of handling with this as we are reducing the aim down sight speed. So again, take a look at the bar. You see it move out, and then it sort of stops very early on this one. You take a look, if we put it back to the middle, get back to the middle, and then we do zoom it out a little bit. It does peak about there on 0.72, which is very, very interesting. A little earlier than some of the other ones. If we do want to take a look at the bullet velocity with this particular muzzle, we do take a look here. We slide this out, and you can see it doesn't move too much at the start, but then you get it going, and it peaks about 0.53 or so, give or take a few. About there is about as far as you can get it with this particular option to increase that range stat. Just to polish off all the attachments here, just to show you that we are completing this. You can do this with every attachment in the game. You get these balances right, and you will be very, very powerful in the game. If we do take a look at the hip walking speed, increasing that, you can see that the mobility stat does increase, and it peaks around, yeah, it sort of peaks around 0.39-ish, sort of about there is where it peaks. And so we'll leave it at about there just to increase that mobility stat. Again, we increase that aim down side speed with this particular one. Again, this is the handling stat. This sort of peaks pretty early as well. It actually peaks at 0.17, which is kind of interesting. You don't actually have to go any further than that, because if you do, the bar does not increase too much. So we're just going to leave it at about there, 0.15, just to give us the most amount of stat there. And then, of course, we round this off with the True Tack Grip. Take a look here. Say we want to increase that aim down side speed again, give it a little bit more of a boost. Again, if you do see, it does peak at about 0.47, sort of around that mark there with this particular attachment. Don't go any further than that. You don't need to. You're just wasting sort of stats. And then the sprint to fire speed on this thing as well sort of applies to the handling speed as well. I want to push that a little bit further, but again, does sort of peak about there. So don't go much further than that with this particular attachment. Again, just taking a look at the bar, taking a look at this actual graph and see how much it actually is moving. And again, you want to maximize the amount of stats without wasting extra energy. And that's pretty much it, guys. That is how tuning works at the moment in Modern Warfare 2. If you do tend to slide that all the way to the left or the right or the bottom or the top, depending on what you are changing in terms of those stats, you're probably wasting, you are probably adding some negatives to your gun that you're not intending to. So just pay attention to that graph. I know this can be a little bit tricky to do on controller, but just try and fine tune it as much as possible. Get it to the peak of that and don't push any further, because you're not getting any positive bonuses out of it if you do go further than the peak. But again, if you did enjoy this one and it did help you out at all, make sure you do hit that subscribe button with those notifications turned on. I do very much appreciate it, and it really does help me out. And hopefully, again, I will see you in the next one. Bye!